Welcome to the In Cosmetics Meet the Speakers series, where we meet the experts speaking at the Marketing Trends Theatre this November. I'm delighted to welcome today's guest, Jude Chao, beauty blogger and author and founder of Love Jude. Jude, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
To start, it would be great if you could give our viewers some information about Love Jude.
Sure. So Love Jude is a sheet mask line that I've founded. We'll be launching later this year. What we really wanted to do, as a beauty blogger and an author, I've always had a really good connection with my audience. And what I've learned over the years, along with learning the technicalities of skincare and what it can do for your skin, is how important self-care is and how well skincare can fit into a self-care routine. So what we wanted to do was bring our audience, our customers, sheet masks that work, that make your skin look good, that are non-irritating, non-sensitizing, but that also make you smile. So we've come up with some concepts for our sheet masks that are very fun. They're nothing that you need to take too seriously. It's just something that you can enjoy at the end of a day to give yourself a little bit of a pickup.
Sounds lovely. And obviously, as founder, what's your current role at the company?
Almost everything. It's just me and my partner right now and our factory. So I'll be handling formulation, I'll be handling marketing, I'll be handling copywriting. I'll be the one typically that will be engaging with our customers through social and through email and however else they want to find us, while my partner generally does the design and interfaces with our factory in Taiwan.
Wow, it's very busy. So how did you first get attracted to the beauty and personal care market?
You know, I've always had an interest in skincare, and it goes back to childhood, I think. My mother was very, very diligent with her self-care, her skincare, her makeup, her dress. And it was especially important because she was pretty ill for a lot of my childhood. She actually passed away from breast cancer when I was 13 years old. But some of my earliest memories of my mom are her taking care of herself, her skin and her beauty, and she kept that up even when she was ill, because it was such an important way for her to assert her value and that she's still there, that she's not her illness, she's still herself. You know, I took that with me into adulthood, and then when I hit my 30s, you know, we get to a point where we've been treating our skin and our bodies not that well when we're in our 20s. We hit our 30s and we think maybe it's time to start taking care of things a little bit more. So I, at that time, had started to look into skincare on some online forums like Reddit or Facebook, started to learn about the basics, what kind of cleanser to use, how to choose your moisturizer, what chemical exfoliants are. As I got deeper into these communities and started engaging and sharing what I was learning as well, I found that people were connecting really well with my content. And it just sort of evolved from there. I wanted to have a place to write content and to publish content that belonged to me. So if you are just sharing content, even if you've written it yourself and it's like a blog post length product review, if you put it on some place like Reddit, Reddit owns it, it's not you. I've been in digital publishing for a long time, so I understand the importance of owning your own content, and that's where the blog started. From there, I think it was just very lucky timing that K-Beauty was taking off right around the same time that I started my blog. And so I felt that my audience and my content have grown alongside the K-Beauty and the overall Asian cosmetics trend.
Fantastic. And obviously we're living in unusual and very difficult times at the moment. How have you seen sort of COVID impact the beauty industry and especially sort of your brand and in the area that you operate?
You know, certainly I think there have been some logistical issues. As far as a lot of companies that I've seen, especially the ones shipping out of Korea or out of Japan, obviously facing shipping delays and shipping restrictions now as they try to reach their international customers. I work with some vendors in South Korea, for example, that have had to shut down international shipping operations altogether or heavily restrict the countries that they ship to because of COVID. In terms of consumer behavior, I actually think that quarantine and lockdown and the stress of COVID and just the sort of general very anxious energy of 2020 globally has caused some people to turn more towards cosmetics, especially skincare, as a method of self-care and as something that they can do, a ritual to take care of themselves and try to stay calm, in these times. I do think that there's more impact on color cosmetics because a lot of people aren't going out anymore. They don't really need to go to the office. They're not going to bars. So they're not using as much makeup. But as far as skincare goes, it's quite critical. And even with things like wearing masks to go out into public. So when you have PPE, a lot of people are struggling with masking. So it becomes another sort of skincare need that people are discovering.
Yeah, absolutely. With skincare growing, how do you see that kind of moving into 2021? Are there any other big trends that you would expect to see?
Yeah, I think that we're seeing a continued evolution of clean beauty and the sort of a non-toxic cosmetics trend, which I personally am not really on board with. I think that this sort of fear of chemicals and fear of synthetics is a little bit overblown, but that certainly does seem to continue rolling forward.
Wonderful. And we're really lucky to have you speaking at In Cosmetics Asia this November. Would you be able to give us a little bit more information about the topic you'll be discussing?
Absolutely. So I'll be speaking about how young consumers are changing the beauty landscape. It's a really interesting topic because it's something that I think people in my generation, I'm 40 and above, have grown up with very limited resources for learning about skincare, even learning about brands. A lot of what we knew when we were younger comes from magazines, comes from TV, comes from celebrity recommendations, and those are heavily curated. And obviously, anything coming from a commercial publication, there may be some advertiser considerations in there. People these days have a wealth of word of mouth, consumer to consumer feedback on brands, on trends, and a lot more power through social media, through their own personal platforms to drive trends themselves. It's one of the reasons that K-beauty really became popular in the US too, very, very grassroots. It was through blogs, it was through social media, it was through regular consumers sharing what they were discovering and sort of spreading the word. So it's definitely something that has changed the landscape. And I think too that there's an increased pressure on young people these days to perfect their appearance. And that comes from the social pressure of social media and the internet and sort of exposure to these heavily edited, heavily manipulated photos of people who are supposed to be regular people. I think that there's a lot to be discussed about whether that's healthy or not, but the fact remains that it is a driver for more intensive skincare than what we had when we were younger.
Final question. What are you most looking forward to at InCos Asia this year?
Very, very excited to speak to the industry and to be able to share my observations.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.